If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless lists of 3D scanners, watching the same best-of videos, and still feel stuck on which model actually justifies its price, this review is going to clear that up. I've been in the same boat trying to figure out whether the extra features some brands brag about really matter for everyday creators, or if they're just marketing fluff. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What you really need to know is how a scanner behaves once you pull it off the shelf, set it up on a cluttered desk, and start feeding it parts you actually want to print. First, let's talk about what you're really looking for when you buy a 3D scanner for hobbyist or low-volume professional work. Accuracy is the obvious headline, but the hidden cost is often the workflow. Do you need to spray the object with a matte coating? Do you have to stick markers on every curved surface? How many minutes does a typical scan take before you can export a clean mesh? Those are the questions that separate a scanner that feels like an extra pair of hands from one that feels like a constant roadblock. The Revopoint MetroY Pro promises industrial-grade accuracy and 5 different scanning modes, all while saying you won't need any spray or markers. In practice, that means you can walk up to a glossy ceramic figurine, a matte-finished phone case, or even a reflective metal gear, and the device should handle it without you having to prep the surface first. From my own testing setting up the MetroY Pro on a small home office desk, connecting it via Wi-Fi 6 to the laptop, and running a few sample scans, the no-spray claim holds up for most common materials. I tried a polished aluminum keychain, a matte-finished ABS prototype, and a semi-transparent resin figurine. The scanner locked onto the keychain without any wobble, and the resulting point cloud was dense enough that the software's auto-clean tools needed only a quick pass before I could export an STL. The resin piece was a bit trickier. The scanner occasionally missed the thinnest edges, but the 5-mode system includes a high-detail setting that, when switched on, captured those fine features at the cost of a slightly longer processing time. So the trade-off is clear: you get flexibility, but you have to know which mode to pick for each object. One of the biggest pain points with many entry-level scanners is the need for a turntable or a tedious manual rotation. Revopoint built a one-click auto turntable right into the MetroY Pro, which spins the object while the laser sweeps around it. The result is a seamless 360 scan that usually finishes in under a minute for objects the size of a coffee mug. That speed is a real time saver if you're doing batch scans of small parts for a 3D printed assembly. It also means you can keep your hands free to adjust lighting or swap parts without pausing the workflow. On the flip side, the turntable's load limit is around 2 kilograms, so anything heavier, think a full-size bike gear or a dense stone sculpture, won't stay balanced, and you'll have to resort to a manual rotation method, which reintroduces the old hassle. The built-in Wi-Fi 6 is another practical benefit. Instead of plugging a USB cable into every workstation, the MetroY Pro streams the scan data straight to your computer or tablet in real time. In my setup, I was able to start a scan on the scanner, watch the point cloud build on my laptop, and make on-the-fly adjustments to exposure or laser intensity without stopping the scan. That fluid experience is something you rarely see in the price range of mid-tier scanners. However, the reliance on a stable Wi-Fi network can be a hiccup in a crowded office where bandwidth is already stretched. I noticed occasional hiccups when multiple devices were uploading large files simultaneously, which added a few seconds to the overall scan time. If you're planning to use the scanner in a workshop without solid Wi-Fi, you might want to keep a wired Ethernet adapter handy. Software is where many scanners stumble after the hardware does its job. Revopoint bundles a professional-grade application that runs on Windows and Mac OS, and it integrates directly with popular slicing tools like Cura and Prusa Slicer. The interface is clean. You select a scanning mode, hit Autoscan, and the software guides you through post-processing steps: noise reduction, mesh filling, and export. I appreciated the real-time preview, which let me spot missing geometry before committing to a full scan. The downside is that the software leans heavily on Windows drivers. The Mac OS version is functional but feels a touch slower, and there's currently no native Linux support. If you're locked into a Linux workflow, you'll need to run the Windows version under a virtual machine, which adds complexity. So, who should actually buy the MetroY Pro? If you're a hobbyist who regularly prints custom parts, a small business designer who needs